stop what you are doing. This is not a normal corporate restructuring story. Lockheed Martin is cutting 3,600 defense jobs, and Colorado's governor is furious because this isn't just layoffs. It's a stress fracture in one of the most sensitive parts of the US economy. And if you think this is only about 3,600 people losing paychecks, you're missing the part that should actually scare you. Because when a defense giant starts slicing jobs, it's never just a spreadsheet move, it's a signal, a pressure release, or worse, a warning that something behind the curtain is tightening. And here's the uncomfortable reality. Colorado isn't just losing jobs. Colorado is staring at a ripple effect that could spread fast, hit hard, and expose how fragile these stable defense corridors really are. Think about that. The industry that's supposed to feel recession proof is the one making cuts. Now, let's talk about why the governor is angry, why this move is politically explosive, and what the rest of the country should be watching for next. Lockheed Martin says the cuts are about streamlining and efficiency. That's the corporate language. That's the clean version. But when you hear streamlining in a defense contractor, what it often means is the company is repositioning under pressure. Contract cycles change, priorities shift, budgets move. And when budgets move, entire communities get whiplash. Colorado has a massive aerospace and defense footprint. High skill engineers, program managers, cyber teams, manufacturing, classified work, entire supply chains built around a few major employers. So when a company like Lockheed pulls 3,600 jobs out of the system, it doesn't land softly, it lands like a weight. Pause here. This detail matters. In a place like Colorado, a defense job isn't just a job. It's a mortgage. It's a local business customer. It's school funding. It's tax base. It's stability. And when 3,600 of those jobs are threatened, the fear spreads beyond the people with Lockheed badges because everyone nearby starts doing the same mental math. Am I next? Is my company tied to that program? Is my contract getting renewed? Is my town about to take a hit? And that's where the governor's fury comes from. Political leaders don't just see job losses, they see fallout, they see headlines, they see a confidence crash. And here is where it gets worse. Defense layoffs don't behave like normal layoffs. You don't just slide into the next similar role down the street. These are often specialized clearances, specialized programs, specialized locations. If your project ends, you might have to move, or wait, or take a role that pays less, or leave the industry entirely. Let that sink in. A cut can turn into an exit ramp. Now consider the implications. What happens when a state builds an economy around high-end defense work and then the largest players start trimming? You get a slow bleed, not a dramatic overnight collapse, a gradual withdrawal of talent, a softening of housing markets in specific pockets, a shrinking of local supplier networks. And the scariest part is that it can look fine until it suddenly isn't. That's why this story feels like breaking news, because it's not just about today's job cuts, it's about the message it sends about tomorrow. So why now? Lockheed Martin is sitting in a changing environment. The Pentagon's priorities evolve. Certain programs accelerate, others stall. And when timelines slip or funding gets reshuffled, companies protect margins. They protect shareholder confidence. They cut headcount. They consolidate. And here is the part nobody expects. Even when defense spending is high, contractors can still cut jobs. Why? Because the money doesn't hit every program evenly. Some programs surge, others freeze. Some move to different states. Some shift to different subcontractors, some get redesigned, some get delayed, some get politically contested. The public hears defense spending and assumes stability, but the internal reality can be volatility. Now the situation becomes more dangerous when you zoom out to the human layer. A defense employee isn't just losing a job. They may be losing a clearance pipeline, a career track, a network. And if you're mid-career with a family, with a mortgage, with a life rooted in Colorado, you're suddenly staring at a brutal choice: relocate, downgrade, or wait in limbo. And limbo is where financial stress spikes. Think about the secondary wave: the restaurants near the facilities, the childcare centers, the car dealerships, the HVAC companies, the small tech vendors, the machine shops. All of them feel it, not in a press release, in empty appointments, in canceled contracts, in customers who suddenly stop spending, and then something else breaks: confidence. Because when people hear 3,600 jobs, they start asking a darker question: what do they know that we don't? Is there a deeper contraction coming? Are more cuts quietly planned? Are certain programs less secure than we've been told? And that curiosity gap is exactly why this story is spreading. People can feel instability even when the official language tries to calm everyone down. Now, the governor stepping in makes this even hotter. When a governor publicly signals anger at a defense contractor, it's not just emotion, it's leverage. It's a warning shot. It's an attempt to protect the state's economic engine. Colorado wants those jobs. Colorado wants that tax base. Colorado wants that prestige. And losing thousands of roles means losing bargaining power. Read that again: bargaining power. Because states compete for these facilities, they offer incentives, they build workforce pipelines, they coordinate with universities, they shape policy. And when a major employer cuts jobs, it raises an ugly issue. Did the state invest for stability only to get volatility? That's the political nightmare. Your voters don't want to hear about efficiency. They want to know why their neighbor just got cut and why their town is suddenly at risk. But the real problem is this: if a company can cut 3,600 jobs while still being one of the most important defense contractors in the country, what does that say about the rest of the economy? It says pressure is everywhere, even in the places we think are protected. And now we get to the tension nobody wants to say out loud. Defense contractors aren't just employers, they're strategic infrastructure. They build systems the government depends on. So if you're seeing staffing reductions, that raises questions about capacity, timelines, and execution. Will projects slow down? Will costs rise? Will deadlines slip? Will the remaining workforce burn out? And burnout is not a headline until something fails. Pause here. This detail matters. When you cut thousands of jobs, the work doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it just gets dumped on fewer people. That creates stress. That creates mistakes. That creates delays. That creates internal exits. And then you get a second wave of losses that nobody announced. A silent spiral. Now, I'm not saying the sky is falling tomorrow. I'm saying the structure is under strain and the strain is visible. So, what happens next? Watch for three things. First, watch the language. If more executives start repeating realignment, cost discipline, or portfolio optimization, that's not reassurance, that's preparation. That's narrative management before more disruption. Second, watch the local signals in Colorado: hiring freezes, reduced subcontractor work, smaller firms suddenly pausing expansion, real estate softening in specific corridors. Those are the quiet indicators before the big economic numbers catch up. Third, watch for copycat cuts, because when one major player makes a move, others reevaluate. Not because they have to, but because they can. And when enough companies do that at the same time, you get a broader contraction that feels like it came out of nowhere. This is where the pressure compounds, because the average person doesn't react to macro trends. They react when the person they know loses the job they thought was untouchable. And that is exactly why Colorado's governor is furious, not just at the cuts, at the precedent, at the vulnerability, at the signal that even the safe jobs can vanish with a corporate memo. So here's the question you should be asking right now: if 3,600 defense jobs can be cut in one move, what does the next move look like? And more importantly, which state is next?